Welcome to another episode of Unlocking the Mind Behind, Make More Work Less. Hi, my name is Fong. I'm an entrepreneur, business strategist, real estate investor, speaker, and also a best-selling author. Every single day, I have the opportunity to help others unlock the potentials and guide them to succeed. If you're watching just now and you missed our last episode, this is Unlocking the Mind Behind, Make More Work Less. And the reason why I came up with this series is because I wanted to learn more and teach more about why we make decisions a certain way. Why do we react a certain way? How do we build better relationships? How do we do business better? And the key point of that is, how does our minds work? And when we really look into it, there's a lot of psychology terms, a lot of effects and biases that our minds actually do without us even knowing. And therefore, we make certain decisions. We react a certain way because of those effects coming into play. And last week we talked about the ambiguity effect, and today we're going to be talking about anchoring. Now, anchoring or focalism is a cognitive bias where an individual depends too heavily on an initial piece of information offered, which is considered an anchor, to make subsequent judgments during a decision making. Once the value of this anchor is set, all future negotiations, arguments, estimates, etc. are discussed in relation to this anchor. So what does this actually mean? It really means that whatever first piece of information gets put out there in the beginning actually affects how we decide certain things or how we estimate certain things. Now, there's been a lot of different studies and experiments that's been done, but 3 of them really came out to me, and I thought these were absolutely fascinating. Now, the first one, I'm going to ask you very quickly, in 5 seconds, I want you to do this math in your head. Ready? What is 8 times 7 times 6 times 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So what did you get? Is it somewhere between, I don't know, 2,000, 1,000, 3,000? Okay, now scrap that. Now on another piece on the side of that answer, what is the answer? And you also get 5 seconds to answer this question. What is 1 times 2 times 3 times 4 times 5 times 6 times 7 times 8? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. What did you get? Is it somewhere between, I don't know, 500, 600, or is it 400? So this is what's coming to play. Now, this study was done with 2 different groups of people. It's a little bit different when you're doing it yourself, but try it yourself with 2 different groups of people. And with one group of people, ask it that way. Is it 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1? And then ask them, did you get an estimate of between, I don't know, 1,000, 2,000? And then with the other group, ask them to multiply 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then ask them, oh, what did you get? Is it somewhere between, I don't know, 500, 200, 300? And see what numbers you get. Now, during this study, the fascinating part was basically the same question, because we're multiplying the same numbers. We're getting 2 complete different numbers. And the group that we were at that was asked with the 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, they came up on an average of the number 2250, 2,250. Whereas the other group came up with a number of around 512. And the reason being is because the anchoring effect was in play. Very first, for the other first group was that they were thinking, well, 8s and 7s, well, you multiply those 2 is 56 and you round up. And then also the person asked us, oh, is it around 2,000? There's an anchoring effect thinking it's around 2,000, thinking it's 1,000. So they came up with a number of around 2250. Likewise, the other group, which started off going 1 times 2, well, that's 2 times 3, that's 6. Okay, adjust a little bit more and bump it up, I don't know, 512, because they also were anchored with a number, 500, 400, something like that, right? So the thing is, 2 exactly the same calculations, but people were estimating 2 completely different numbers because of the anchoring effect. Now, in reality, the actual answer is 40,320. So the numbers were completely way off, but still, it was affected by the anchoring effect. Now, 2 other case studies were done, and it was more in real life terms. A whole bunch of very fair judges were asked to do a sentencing on a woman who was sentenced because of shoplifting, and to decide how many months in jail this person should have. But before they went into sentencing, they were asked to roll a couple of dice and go, okay, see what they get. Now, unbeknownst to the judges, the dices were fixed to either roll up to have either 3 or 9. Now, the group of judges who always rolled 9s was actually, on average, sentencing the woman to 8 months in prison. Whereas the judges who were rolling 3s were sentencing the woman to an average of about 5 months in prison. So even that will affect the judgment of what the judge would actually come up with. So anchoring effect was once again put in play. The third one that I thought was really fascinating was estimating the bottle of wine or champagne. And this study was done where before a group of people was asked to estimate a bottle of wine, they were first asked to pick a ping pong ball out of a bag of ping pong balls. And they were told that within that bag was numbers from 1 to 100. But in reality, there's two bags. One bag with all the ping pong balls saying it's 10, and all the ping pong balls in the other bag that says 65. So what happens was on the group of people who was picking from the ping pong ball bags that says 10 on them actually was estimating the bottle of wine to be anywhere between $10 to $20. Whereas the group of people who was picking from the bag that has the 65 ping pong balls was actually estimating the bottle of wine to be around $65, $70. So again, our minds are affected by that very first initial information that's put in place, even though if that number has absolutely nothing to do with what we're talking about. Now, how is this being done in our everyday day-to-day lives? Well, when we're buying properties, that is one of the most prime examples of how anchoring effect is being in play. And when a realtor goes, well, this house is $400,000, but guess what? We're gonna bring it down to $350,000, you're getting a great deal. Well, they've already anchored the $400,000 price tag in your mind. And therefore, everything after that will seem like a great deal. But in reality, that property may only be worth $350, but if they bumped up the price and says the selling and asking price was $400,000, they've anchored a number in your mind, thinking that is worth more. So how do you deal with it? How do you take this knowledge and use it for your advantage? Well, there are three main things that you can do when it comes to going against the anchoring effect. One is if you know and you know other arguments against the anchoring number or against the anchoring information, find every information that you can to go against it. So that's why we do comparables when it comes to buying a property, getting as much comparables as we can to go against that anchoring number to begin with. And then we may start with our own anchor, which is our first bid, our first offer as to what we believe our anchor point is, and we keep on negotiating it down. The other way of going against an anchor is as they were telling you an anchor, always shake your head and just keep on doing that until you get that in your head that it's not the right number or it's not the right effect or it's not the right feeling that you want to feel. The third thing is if the anchor put onto you is so far off than what you're expecting, then it's better for you to just go, you know what, I'm not going to negotiate at all. I'm just going to wait until you come up with something more realistic before we do any negotiations. It's better to do that than start off with another anchor at a very lower point and just keep on bridging that gap. The thing is that gap is going to be so wide that it's going to be so taxing on you and the other person to negotiate something that makes sense. So it's actually better for you just to go, you know what, I'm not going to fall for this anchor and just give us something else. So that is the anchoring effect. How would you use it for your day-to-day life? How would you use it for your advantage? How would you protect yourself after knowing this knowledge? So that is anchoring effect again. Until next time, today is the day to unlock your potential. We'll see you later.